Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Fun on Purpose podcast, and today we are going to see if you can measure fun. My name is Christopher Bruce. Next to me, Nick Gianoulis, the godfather of fun himself. And what do you think about that, Nick? Measuring fun.
I've been wanting to do this, Chris, since the inception of the fun department. We've talked about it for years, right? So I always thought it would be ideal if we could find a resource or be able to specifically measure fun. So this is super exciting for me. We got two great guests.
Absolutely. It is going to be a lot of fun having that discussion. And there has always been a need to be able to measure and quantify fun. Our clients have asked for it forever.
Right.
We always know it felt good and the results were there, but to be able to measure it, that makes it even better. So welcome once again to the Fun on Purpose podcast. Can you measure fun? All right, Nick, as promised, we're going to dig into this topic today. Can you measure fun? And I just know there's a lot of people out there that are tuning in that are going to say, yes, please tell me how, because it's one of those things that they always want to be able to go to the higher ups and show the value.
Sure.
And that is so important.
What's the ROI?
What is the ROI of fun? It's been a question we've been hoping to answer for a long time. So with that, on the Fun on Purpose podcast, we want to officially welcome Rico and Zach from MH3. How are you guys feeling today?
Doing great. Glad to be here. Thank you for having us.
No, it's our pleasure.
No, we're thrilled to be here today to talk about measuring fun and everything that goes along with it. You know, usually when you talk about numbers and fun, people walk out of the room. So we're really looking forward to talking about it with you guys today.
Well, Zach, real quick, since you say that, if you could measure how thrilled you are to be on the show, where would that rate on the scale?
On a scale of...
Oh, well, yeah, I'm going to give you a 10 out of 10 today, fellas, because I've been looking forward to this. I wasn't lying in the upfront.
Oh, there you go. Well, we're excited too. We're easily right there with you. And if you can measure our excitement, it's neck and neck. We're at the top of it. So all good things. You know, this question of can you measure fun really has haunted, the fun department and really anybody who's delivering on that level, trying to bring teams together, bring people together. We always look for things that have an impact, and outside of just hearing from people and kind of getting a vibe and a feel for did that work or was it worth it? It's really nice to think that, hey, we might be able to actually have some tangible results to go along with it. So what is the strategy behind that? What is the key to measuring fun? And tell us a little bit about you guys to start, and we can go from there.
Sure. So I guess we just start about the personal passion to fun actually is what the birth of our company came from. I remember early on of being immersed in fun of Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. I started as a pharmaceutical sales rep there. And one of the first things I learned in training as a sales rep was this idea of the fish philosophy, which is from the fish markets in Seattle. They have their own cultural program that they run. And I remember we just saw the joy of people throwing fish all day, right? And for me, it wasn't throwing all fish all day, but I was going to have to be in my car all day, being a pharmaceutical sales rep, driving around all over Brooklyn and feeling very alone. And when you go to a doctor's office, there at that time, and I'm sure it's still the same, there was a lot more hands in your face than people welcome you in. But one of the concepts was we had other sales reps, right, in our territory with us. And the cultural program of fun was like making anything fun. And my counterpart and me at the time really embraced it. And we all the time were like, remember them in Seattle? We're not throwing fish around, but we can still have fun. And so from my career I've always, to your point, right, try to enjoy that, but how do you measure that, or try to trap back to that experience? Or you get asked that question when you're being interviewed for a company, right? What kind of culture are you looking for? And everybody wants to have fun, but how do you really say that and align to this experience to quantify that? And so when COVID was coming, right, and the social distancing, March 15, 2020, and social distancing in Italy is happening. Right, fun is definitely going to be impacted, incorporated in America, in the US. And I have my master's in neuroscience, 21 years in life sciences. So I knew from there that we're going to have an impact. And so what
no
we've
doubt.
done,
Oh man, and you were right.
Absolutely right.
You weren't wrong.
You nailed it.
Whether you
nailed
measured it or
Rico.
not, you were on that one.
That's 100% right.
what happened was, right, and the cascade of just thoughts were, wait a minute, not only fun and measurable, but like we've had pride events or we've had women's history events, and we've really never been able to measure the impact of that. We're all chasing this experience that we qualitatively know from other people. But the workplace truly being impacted. So what we do is now, which is awesome and able to do, is we specifically are now able to measure fun, but in through the lens of corporate mental health and wellness. So our company partners with human resource, procurement, behavioral health leaders of Fortune 1000 and government agencies to monitor and improve the mental well-being of their employees, leaders, and people they support. But really how our differentiator comes into it, and that measurement part, is that we have a network of 50 plus diverse mental health and wellness experts, and that we use their insights we use their insights to fuse with the proprietary mood and mental well-being software platform. So not only we're measuring mood and mental well-being, but also fun, but being able to provide insights from mental health and wellness experts, right, to look at this and go, that experience you were chasing of feeling, right, that vitality, feeling very just uplifted, feeling fun, right? This is what you need for that experience. Those things that you were chasing, here they are, but here they are now they are qualified by data. And that's really how we're looking now. It's still the fun part of it, right? But the fun part is coming really from individuals reporting back on their mood and mental well-being. That's really that's the long-winded way of how we look at it.
And that's so interesting because you think about data and how much that is shaping and changing a lot of the things that are in our lives. I mean, not to get too far down the rabbit hole, but thinking about sports and how much that has changed and how they analyze data and changing how they play the game, how they manage, how they operate. It's very interesting. Things are really all changing and evolving because we have access now to information that we never used to have.
Yeah. I think the other thing that's really striking to me is that you were talking about real-time measurement and measuring, moods real-time and actual events, specific events. When I found out that these guys can actually measure an event, that's super powerful. And it gives the client the ability to do things proactively, right? Instead of getting data, that typical surveys and data that's 6 months, 9 months, a year old, they've lost the opportunity. You can proactively show them how to increase.
And that fresh data, that data that's happening in the moment is much more accurate, right? It's more real time. If you wait 6 months or a month down the road, people forget half of what even happened, or they're not in that space to really have the same emotional connection and feeling to it. Yeah. So how powerful is that real time data?
Yeah, tell us about the science behind it a little bit. I think that's, our guests would be interested to know.
Absolutely here. And Rico and I can tag team this one, but I'll set this up. So I want to take the sports reference that you had a little bit ago.
Yeah.
Right. So when we're talking about measuring fun, and especially in the workplace, it's like, okay, whenever we're talking about baseball, we've got individual like RBIs, home runs, fine, what have you. But now, how do we actually apply that to the workplace to make a demonstrable impact that's not only going to support the employees, but also help the business thrive and be productive altogether? So with that, and through our scientifically backed methodology, and I'm going to take the example of measuring mood, because mood really has a huge impact on how not only we show up at work, but how we show up in our day-to-day, how we show up at home. So when it comes to that, the stats that we've actually applied through our method is, all right, let us know how you feel before something, right? That's going to be pretty telling. Those factors of why you're feeling that way, they could be, a myriad of sources and what they are. But if this is where you're at, tell us where you're at. Now, if we want to measure fun, let's say you come in and we're doing this huge event where we're outdoors, we're playing some games, we go through that. Then afterwards, we could actually measure it again. It's quick, it's simple. Tell us how you feel after going through that. Now, with our science-backed method, we are actually able to come back and say, all right, based on those that responded, we could tell you their excitement, their satisfaction, their dissatisfaction, and their stress level beforehand. So really with our back end, our algorithmic and machine learning, we could actually take that and say, all right, here's where people started. Here's where they ended. Here's what happened in the middle. Now, if we continually do this over time, we could actually track, here's the impact, here's what we did, here's what went up, here's what went down, here's how we can address it and actually come in and better support people. Because, I mean, we're spending, whether we're remote, whether we're on site, so much of our time is spent in our work. It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive to where we could have fun in our day doing that work and then carry it throughout. So that's a little bit about like the upfront.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's like money fun, like money ball, right? But this is now money fun, which is really pretty awesome. And I love that you can measure along the way. And what you can see is what's working and then areas that you need to kind of improve. So you can say, hey, let's keep doing more of this, but let's adjust this so that it's even better the next time.
Exactly. And the more that you start to understand the impact of not only your actions internally, but you start to see that visually through data, you were able to start to justify what you're doing, what you want to do for those budgets to help, because you could actually quantify the impact and you're helping your people along the way. So it's a win-win.
Yeah, and a little bit about the a little bit too more the science guy here, right? That's what I like.
You are the neuroscience guy. You said it before. We were impressed. Maybe even a little bit, nervous. Oh my goodness! Don't overanalyze me.
Coming out of your ears, Rico. I see the wheels just like.
All right, so science guy, take it away.
When you look at right now, what corporations most of the time are left with for metrics of an event, right? Was the tech flawless? Was the speaker, all this other stuff, right? But you probably will, those things didn't change the fun, right? Of improving the mood.
If anything, it might have helped. It's memorable.
It still doesn't mean that people look at that as failure. And what failure is, did I improve the mood of the individuals in this room? Right? That really is the failure. What we're most thinking about in the selfish part is, did I do good? Right? How did I do? I presented in front of the team. Did I button my shirt up right? I do all these other things. It's so interesting of having this experience too, just because that's what the world we're used to, right? Like 1 out of 5, how was the speaker? 1 out of 5, how was the environment? Those are important things, obviously, but those are just table stakes.
Well, and it's also like when you ask the question, how was the speaker? What are you measuring in that case? Like, what are your metrics? Like, were they charismatic? Did they dress well? Did they speak well? But were they effective? Did they have an impact? Did they connect with the audience? Because they could look really great. They could sound really great. They could have charisma. But if the message didn't land, if it didn't connect, if it didn't move the needle, then it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah, very subjective.
So I think it is very subjective. So how do you establish what's important to measure, and what are those baselines, and how do you set yourself up so that after the event, the data that you are getting does help you moving forward?
Exactly. Like, because did you imagine, right? Like, think about what we do of corporate mental health and wellness events, right? And bringing them into the workplace, you're naturally bringing up tension in workplace, right? And so don't blame the messenger, right? But you're getting new skills that have to be elevated of like these environments where we have of like, I know I say this all the time as a gay man of like pride events and looking at that in corporate. I've had a blast at those events usually, right? But like the speaker, that's all I've ever been able to evaluate it by. The speaker was great. Maybe not, right? But like it actually improved my mood and I looked forward to that regardless.
Right. And
yes, the table stakes of I wanted food. I was hungry. I got that. That was great, right? All the other things, like I said, in a natural environment and I could hear the speaker was relevant, those things, but that speaker improved my mood.
Yeah. I mean, you could even argue that, the experience, it could have been like, man, that was miserable. Like that was painful.
Yeah.
But I got better.
Yeah.
Or I improved, or that helped me learn something. Or it's like, man, that was amazing. I had such a great time, but I developed a lot of really bad habits.
Yeah.
So it's like all these things are kind of relevant when it comes to the end result.
Yeah.
All right. So I got a question. So Nick, one of the things that we do with our guests is we do obviously like to have some fun. We are the fun department after all. This is the Fun on Purpose podcast. So I want to fire some questions at you. We'll call it a rapid fire round, and we want quick answers. Don't overthink it. We're just going to have some fun. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Ready.
All right, Nick,
Go.
let's see what they do. So the first question is, what is the weirdest thing you have ever had to measure?
Jelly splatter. I'm going literal here.
Yeah, this is good. Jelly splatter. So tell me a little bit about that really quick. So
Okay, yeah, no.
how and why would you ever have to measure jelly splatter?
In college, it was a game in Greek world, fraternity world during Greek games, and it was, taking a hammer and you had to smash this thing full of jelly, and then whoever got the jelly splattered the furthest,
I got it.
This is awesome.
I got
Actually,
it.
that's
It's a
pretty
great
fun. We might need to
visual.
take that one. I
awesome.
like that. So the jelly
Yeah.
splatter
Oh, this isn't
interaction.
work. This is personal. Like,
Just measure in life. Yeah. So you took it that way. Which no rules. So good for you.
that's actually
And you
has no
found the
rule.
weirdest
I was
thing you've ever had to
thinking of
measure. How about you? Well, Rico, I don't want to know your answer, I guess, now after you say that. So anyway, we're going to move on to the next question. Can you have too much fun? Is it possible to have too much fun?
No. I mean, unless you die from it. But just saying that.
Yeah,
No.
but man, was it good going out.
Yeah,
Man, was it good.
Right?
I think yes. I think you can. I think if you're overlooking the needs of others, right? And fun is many times, especially in corporate, a corporate thing is, yes, as a leader, I'm having a blast, right? I'm up here, I'm up on stage, whatever, right? Like, but really looking at the group and fun, right, of collective, of really
Yes.
changing the environment.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so to have
good
fun,
point.
but at what cost? And you do need to consider everybody. And at the fun department, and what we do every day is we try to make fun accessible. So we consider everybody in that. Not everybody plays the same way.
Right, yeah.
Some people love to be the center of attention on the table. Others like to be on the sideline watching, right?
Yeah.
And there is a difference, but they're all valuable and they all matter, and you got to keep that in mind. So that's a good point.
Yeah, one of the laws of fun, right? All
is.
inclusive and non-threatening. So it's really something to pay
Absolutely. My
attention to.
next question, and either of you can take this, maybe you both will. If a rhino and a toucan had a baby, what would it be?
That's Zach.
It would be a Zach. No, that's probably not it.
Rhinos is his thing, so yes, it's his animal.
Sorry, I was playing with three options of that name, but I'm going to go with a Tuno.
Oh,
Ratuno.
okay. I like it. Yeah, very good.
Well done.
And then one last one for this, and then we'll move on to just keep going in the conversation. The U.S., we have fun, but you've traveled to other parts of the world. You've seen it. How are other cultures embracing fun compared to the U.S.? What is fun like in other parts of the world?
Yeah, like other parts of the world, like in the Netherlands, for example, right? Like when I was in Europe, I was in the Netherlands for a month with our software partners, and it really got to experience that culture firsthand. And I was like, wait, no one's sitting in front of their computer eating lunch. What's up with that? This is efficient. So they have lunch together for 30 minutes all together, and then you walk for 30 minutes or do some activity together for that hour. And my hour usually in corporate, as most, is sitting in front of my computer finishing work so that I can leave earlier. And so when I look at other countries and looking at taking a breath, right? And we are here we are alive, so therefore we are important people, all of us, whatever role we have. And many times you can let that take away from your own fun, right? But taking a breath to realize that I'm important, right? And what I do is important, but it also requires me time to be fulfilling and have well-being for me, that I'm not only just having fun, but my well isn't empty, as I guess some would say, of having a well, of it being empty or not. But that's what I would say.
Awesome.
I like it.
Love that. That was great.
Yeah, no, I to that point as well, and this is a little bit about what I was planning to mention earlier. Like whenever it comes to the idea of actually measuring fun in the office, and what we're trying to do is to just remove the stigma, right? I mean, as Americans, as opposed to Rico's example in the Netherlands, to where they are incorporating more of a different cultural approach to what fun means in a day and, going to work. In the US, whether it be, a fear of saying that, I may have ADD or ADHD, to, okay, I do want to enjoy that, but I don't feel that I can. A lot of what we're trying to do, and especially bringing fun to the office and then trying to measure it, is to actually quantify and justify that, hey, you can do this, you can have fun, you cannot be, or rather, you don't have to be judged. And we're just creating that environment that allows us all to just be happier with where we're spending our day, with the people we are spending it with, and with the work that we are doing. So measuring fun not only helps to remove that stigma, but it helps to even the playing field and provide people with the opportunities to not only grow and be comfortable, but then to lean into that fun. So we're really trying to help change that in the US whenever it comes to, approaching that topic as is.
Yeah, I just got back from Italy, and it was so obvious and apparent that, they have a different perspective on work and life, right? Like life is up here and family and food and then work somewhere down the line. And they're actually insulted if someone asks them, and it's always an American, what do you do for a living? Because it's not about what you do, it's about who you are. So we're so quick to ask people that question. So it really is a stark difference.
Right. Can you imagine if you had the opportunity to just ask somebody, what do you do for fun? And them not feel like they have to hold back and feel judged to be like, well, I actually just like to play with Legos all day. Like, okay, great. That's fine.
Right. Exactly.
Enjoy your Legos.
And I went to a cooking class that I shared with Chris.
Yeah.
This video, it was the most fun thing I've ever done. I mean, in the top 3, right? Because they were pouring wine and dancing and having fun. Like, I was not looking forward to this cooking class. I would go back just for that cooking class. It was so much fun.
Really? Yeah, that's
they
great.
have fun.
That is great. See, right? And what's great is now we can come back and look at if our tool had measured that event, right? We could really come back and quantify it and be like, what is it, that special sauce?
Right.
Yeah. Well, and for you, your expectation going into that would have been almost like bottom. Like you're like, I don't even want to do this.
Right.
And now you're like, I want to travel halfway across the world to do it again.
And
so like, what an improvement,
right? They would know.
Share it with all my friends.
That
awesome.
Well, you might be able to get a free trip if you can get that out there. And that's the best sales tool they've ever had, right?
Oh wait,
I went from no go to all the way in.
Yeah. Let's work with them. We'll do measure for them, and then we'll do that.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like apparently a cooking claess meets a rave. I mean, what you explained was nuts.
It was wild. So much fun.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. So,
that sounds fun.
We're talking about measuring fun and, benefiting from this information, quantifying these elements and being able to put it into practice and into place to improve our environments, right? With the fun department, it's all about creating a happier, healthier, more connected workplace. And these results that you guys are being able to, kind of obtain through your quantification strategies and techniques and various tools allow people to do that. So how important is that for teams when it comes to improving their work environments and just all of us in general to improve our lives?
I think one thing that's happening right now, right, and people like to use the phrase of the great resignation or the silent resignation, right, is what we have to look at is that a lot of times what we're seeing in a workforce may just be the signs, right, of a silent resignation, of great resignation, right? You may look at people and they look a little tired, or people are out, or they may be high absenteeism, right? Or they may not seem as engaged. And because of our platform, it's not just a survey platform, but it's over 400 scientifically validated questions from organizational psychologists. We can come in now, and when individuals they're responding anonymously, right, to either a mood or well-being questions of these scientifically validated questions. And what they're being able to do now is respond as an individual, where you're getting below kind of that iceberg, right, where you saw the signs. Now you're actually getting symptoms. So you're seeing that, whoa, every time we have an event, maybe in May, right? The beginning of the month, people feel very down, right? But then if we have these programs, we can increase happiness by this %. And then that in turn increases productivity, collaboration, and leadership. But that's really where we see it evolving for teams. It really starts to quantify for an organization specific metrics for them, right? Not for theories. A lot of things are like, if you do this event for your LGBT employees or for women or for your male employees, they're going to have fun, right? Based on theories. Now we can say these individuals, not only are they having fun, but you're getting down to the symptomology of really helping them with their mental well-being. And they're telling you that themselves, right? You're not having to assume by what you're seeing is not the full story, as we all know.
Right.
And so you're able to catch that silent resignation and prevent it many times before it's happening. And so that's really where we see the benefit from the perspective of really transforming the workplace.
Yeah, and to elaborate a little bit more on that, and specifically to some of the differentiators here. I mean, imagine the typical environment of any HR department, just in this example. You know, a lot of companies want to have a positive work culture. But what does that mean? How do you build it? What are the tools? What does that culture mean to that company? And, you know, where does mental health well-being, where does fun come into play, and what that actually means? So whenever we were looking at that environment of, we know we want to make a positive impact. We know these things sort of anecdotally have an impact, but how do you quantify it? Great. Now, what is everybody else doing that is sort of playing with data and supporting these structures? So with what our approach, we created what we call like that strategic action plan, because a lot of times a need is identified or a want is identified. Great. A budget is set. They go find someone to help measure. They get the results. Now the budget's gone. They don't know what to do with the results because they don't have that sort of hand-holding or the next step, the rationale to get the budget in order to put these things in place. Great. So like what our approach is, we're bringing in those experts that wouldn't normally have the ability to practice in these environments, whether they be a psychologist, psychiatrist, even singing bowl practitioners. We really have a very myriad of network to say, all right, if you saw these results from this company, what would you recommend in order to better support them? So we're trying to change the way and provide the tools that all of these departments use to better support internally, really change the conversation around it. So that's how we try to quantify and then provide the tools for fun, for positive action and change.
That's awesome. Yeah. And again, it's the amount of data that you guys provide. I mean, I remember when I first saw it, you know, it's not just a series of numbers and graphs. I mean, it's very specific and prioritized too, as to what an organization, you know, should do. And it really gives that company, client, organization the opportunity to, you know, to proactively do something.
Yeah, absolutely. And fun has come a long way.
Yeah.
You know, I think at this point, people recognize that they should be having it, or at least trying to create a fun, quote unquote, work environment.
Right.
That is important, but to be able to quantify it, to be able to understand how
next level
to create that fun work environment really makes a difference, because a lot of times they're like, yeah, we know we need to do it, but how?
Right.
And being able to measure things allows you to kind of hone it in and figure what's working, what's not working, and take action.
Yeah, and I think the quantification where it dives even deeper, right, is and we're living all through a shared global trauma, and the best important thing is an individual check-in, right? And I can now go back and look, because we have an app where an individual can look. It's anonymous, but an individual can see their own results that they've put in, and they can see, right, whoa, my mood was really bad in May. Right? What was going on? How do I learn? How do I show up? How do I start to take care of my mental well-being? Right? Of like, I am part of this collective, then that's a mood, but like fun also for me, right? Of like, how do I integrate that in my day? Like for me, I don't always like doing spreadsheets and everything of that nature, but because that Pfizer, that fun philosophy has been in my work life since I can't remember, and I've always had very stressful jobs. That idea of fun, of like, I have to do a spreadsheet, how do I make this fun for me? That requires me learning though, right? And really taking note for yourself.
Yeah.
To that point on fun as well, I want to provide an example of how we were able to talk about mood and the impact of fun to totally change the story on us coming in to actually help a company and provide data and results of those feelings. While we were speaking with this company, someone brought us in, and ultimately another person's going to be the decision maker. We're going to come in, we're going to measure mood. Here's what you're going to get: an understanding of how your people feel and what those emotional motivational drivers are. The client came back and said, I'm sorry, it's going to be a no. The client actually said, why do I care how my people feel? Like, okay, well, we wanted to actually help address that. So we were going to work with him to sort of objection handle that. And we came back just with a visual representation of the flow and the experience that his employees would go through in order to get this data. And that once we provided the question of, all right, tell us how you feel, followed up with, is the reason, do you feel this way because of your workload? Do you feel this way because of your job? As soon as we positioned it that they feel negative or possibly negative because of the work, it totally changed the way that this client saw it. We did the survey, got some of the best results ever. And this individual was a little afraid of what the results were going to be, but in the end, it was actually some of the most positive things. And because we asked that question, is the reason you feel this way because of your work? The open-ended results, when you ask somebody how they feel, the power of those open-ended results are going to tell you almost everything you need to back up and justify what you're doing and why they're looking for fun.
That's awesome. And I guess it's no surprise that, or an anomaly, that some of the highest performing companies in the world incorporate, fun and happiness and care about whether their employees are in a good mood and experiencing, good things at work. So that's something that we've learned over the years, that the best companies in their particular industry, they get it about this. They understand that fun and happiness and well-being is an integral part of their culture. And employees now seek it out, right? Like, everybody wants to know what's the culture like before they, are applying at a new position. They want to know that it's a place that they can feel good about and
be a part of something, which is really great. And, it's one thing to recognize that you want to involve fun, but it's another thing to be able to do it well.
Right.
And so by measuring it and taking the time to analyze the data, that's really where you can dial it in and get really precise with how you can make a meaningful impact.
Yeah.
And that is exciting.
Yeah. And the other thing, to Zach's point, where leadership, but this has also been our experience, where we go in and we talk to a company, and when you're talking to the leaders and they say, oh yeah, we have tons of fun here, man. We got it.
Oh, man.
We got, we're the most fun
so
company
fun here, guys. It's so fun.
And then you talk to the employees, and it's a completely different story.
Yeah, they're like, oh my goodness. Like, fun is us watching our leader, talk to us about how great they are. Or it's like going and playing golf, which I hate. It's like, and that's why it's important to really understand what is fun for your team. What is fun for you is different than what is fun for me. And unless you ask those questions, unless you dig in, how can you possibly craft an experience that is going to, have that connection and involve everybody in a meaningful way so that we can all have fun?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I love data of measuring it. The data of measuring it is, right, of really starting to look at and quantifying these experiences of fun specific to your organization, right? Because you could try to do something that you experienced at another company and bring it to yours, and it flops, right? Or it's successful to some, but doesn't hit others. And that's what I think is really great of when we worked with Fun Department, of really coming in and really designing things aligned to a culture. And now you have the measurement to define, well, this really is part of our culture, right? That, like, you may have some events and you measure, you go, the mood really, that actually decreased the mood, right? The mood did not improve. And so we wouldn't do that type of event, but yeah.
I was going to talk about, obviously as a neuroscientist, analyzing the data and, digging in on these things is fun to you, but somebody else might look at that and be like, oh my goodness, I would literally rather hear fingernails on a chalkboard. But, and that's why it's important, right? It is, everybody's different. And, right butts, right seats, personalities, all those things factor.
Yeah.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach. My idea of fun is sitting in the stands. Rico's idea of fun is, on the field swinging the bat. But whenever it comes to actually applying, like, say you're a multi-location national company, where you've got, an office in Chicago where we are versus a rural office in, say, Nebraska. The ways in which these individuals are going to want to experience fun in their day to day is going to be solely different. So having an understanding of these different locations and feelings allows you to be more strategic, not only in the needs of these different offices at any given time, but also allows you to more readily deploy the things that your people need. And if, say, Nebraska's needing XYZ versus Chicago needing this, well, now you've got the data to justify what you're going to do.
Right.
And out in Nebraska, they're shucking corn. In Chicago, you're measuring the wind. Put them together, and while you're shucking, you throw the husks in the air, and you see how far the wind blows them. You bring it all together, everybody wins.
Put some corn on that pizza in Chicago?
Hey, I grew up in the cornfields of central Illinois, so I'm very familiar with that situation.
Very familiar.
Yeah.
Aw.
Yeah.
Shucks, that was good. Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. No, it is good, but it's fun, right? And bringing it all together, finding ways to connect everyone is really, for me, that is kind of fun, right? Designing the activities and the interactions so that everybody can play. That is part of what we do and what we really embrace and enjoy.
And they're speaking directly to that shared experience where, everybody plays in a different way and fun, it looks different for different people. So it's one of the first things that we capture. And I think that's what's so powerful too about the way you measure is you're asking individuals, how do you feel? Not what's your organization like? You're asking people and they so appreciate it. So when we ask somebody, what's the 10 things that are most fun for you, they're like, wow, somebody's really going to ask me,
right?
As opposed to forced family fun or forced corporate fun where pick from these 3 things and that's what we're going to do because that's the selection.
And we really do a non-traditional team building approach when we do a lot of interaction. So when people think of team building, they go, oh no,
right, yikes,
this is going to be painful. This, again, that forced family fun.
Right.
So it's really important to just recognize that people have unique interests.
Right.
And if you consider them in the process and get them involved, that goes a long way. And the only way to do that is to, do a little bit of research, get some data going, ask those questions, get the results, and then put that all into play, mix it up. And what comes out is a really wonderful, great opportunity to bond, to connect, and to have those shared experiences. And that's what drives things forward.
And you bring up a good point as well, too, just about the types of surveys and how are we going to get people to do it. So, and I'm saying that because we've really thought through the concept of, survey fatigue. Employees are also, while all of this is well and good, and we need to ask them these questions to get the information to create our plans to actually help them have fun. There's also the concept of, oh gosh, this is another thing I got to fill out. What is this information going to be used for? Is there, identifying information? With our approach, we've really tried to adjust that to be more inclusive and more wanting to. One, with the speed at which you can take it. It's a QR code. We've created an emoji wheel to where you can quickly identify how you're feeling through an emoji. So it's a little bit more fun, followed quickly up by, some questions. So we're really taking that approach to not only, one, acknowledge the time of individuals because, everybody's wanting to know everything, but two, really ensure that we take their privacy seriously so that anything that is actually collected is actually used for their benefit. No personalized anything is ever involved. We don't keep or track anything. But that's just another thing of, we want to hear from people. We got to show them we're listening to you. We don't want to take up too much of your time and we trust your privacy.
Yeah, and who doesn't want to take a spin on the emoji wheel?
I know. Well, that's the cool thing. When I first saw your surveys, they're actually fun. It's awesome. I was so pleasantly surprised to see that you incorporated fun into the process of taking the survey.
Right. You start off with this will not be a 20-page survey.
Right.
Okay, well, that's nice.
And I have to give credit where credit is due is, and I don't think a lot of people talk about this a lot, is technology sustainability, right? Is a lot of us are concerned about privacy of our data, right? There's a lot of new innovative tools and solutions coming out. So while I'd love to say that I'm the creator of our software, it's actually we have an exclusive partnership with a company in the Netherlands in Utrecht. And they've done over 8 years of research to date with the University of Utrecht and developing these scientifically based questions. But really what it looked at for technology sustainability, right, is do you build your own thing or do you leverage something and bring it from across to make something that can go across the globe? And that's really where we're looking at that. How do you benchmark, like when we're talking about the Italy experience, right, or Netherlands, how do you benchmark that? But benchmark across the world so that we're all learning the best from each other on mood, not just by office, right, but also just taking that at a more broad level. But yeah, and we picked it because of that idea of it could take 15 seconds, and they already thought through the things of making that emoji real fun. But just I always like to give credit to where credit is due, because it has just been phenomenal of what we've been able to see of bringing our software into corporations.
Are there any measurement results based on giving credit to just anywhere, like, not due here, but I'm just going to throw it over here, random credit? Is there any downside to random credit? I don't know. Because, Nick, you deserve credit. I don't know what for, but I'm going to give you credit.
We all deserve a little credit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I need credit.
Why not?
Credit.
That's fun.
That's awesome.
Credit. Yes, I need an extension.
You know what,
on my
Rico?
credit limit.
You get some credit.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
And
Zach, you know what? You definitely deserve credit. You deserve more than any of us, I'm sure. So you get a whole pile of credit.
I appreciate that. Frankly, just because I got my hair this high today.
There you go.
The hair looks great. Both of your hair looks great. So
and if you did that by yourself, wow, major credit.
awesome.
Thank you. See?
Zach actually cuts my hair. He cuts
that's a
his
true
hair
story,
and my
actually.
hair. So if anything's wrong with it, blame it on him. If anything's good with it, blame
That's impressive. I was just going to ask a fun fact, if you would provide each of you a fun fact that we may not know about you. So, do that. So we know one thing, that Zach has got some skills, man. He can.
Well, he
cut
cuts
some
Rico's hair, so now we need something new. So
that's
quick
cool.
fun facts,
from each of you. That'd be.
and then we'll
fun
go and do.
fact, and this because it's definitely a fun thing for most people. My dad, I grew up on the set of Dukes of Hazzard because my dad was the head of stunts for the stunt director for Dukes of Hazzard growing up. And I got to be on a lot of other shows on set because of my dad of growing up. He was in the movie industry my entire life. But that's my fun fact. And I like
And they did some serious stunts, jump in the cars and all that good stuff. I mean, that's a fun one. Did you ever jump in the door and recreate some of those? You had to have done that, right? You jumped in there.
As a child, I loved Dukes.
They should have just tossed you in.
The first time I went on set, Daisy Duke, actually, they were getting ready to film something, and Daisy Duke knew my father, and she knew of me, and she was like, "Is that Rico, little Rico?"
Yeah.
And then she picks me up, and then she has me. I'm looking over her shoulder, and Boss Hogg is in a car, and I'm like, "That's Boss Hogg. I don't like him, but I want because he was the evil guy." So I was like, "But I don't like him, but I want to know what he's doing." And he was
bad guy,
right. And it was visual effects. And I was like, I looked at my dad, and I remember I go, "I don't ever want to come back. I don't want to come back. This isn't real. Dukes of Hazzard." I thought this was no, Daddy, you worked on that was real. That because
I love that you were in the arms of Daisy Duke, and in that moment is when you decided you didn't want to come back.
Right.
We don't need to unpack that, but it's all good. And you know what? You have lived your true self from that day forward. And
is that what you're saying?
I mean,
I don't want Daisy Dukes. I want Boss Hogg.
Yeah, listen. There's something to be said for you are who you are, and embrace it. It's a beautiful thing.
That's great.
So very good. So yeah, Zach, what's your fun fact?
A fun fact: ever since The Notebook came out, my life has never been the same. Sorry, the movie.
What?
The movie, or I'm assuming...
Ever since The Notebook came out.
Okay, just making sure.
No, when The Notebook came out in college, I was a senior, I believe it was, and then all of a sudden I'm just at a bar, and these girls thought, "Oh my gosh, you look like Ryan Gosling." I'm like, "What?" So I'm 38 now, and it has been nonstop.
I got it.
Yeah, I get that all the time, and people are like, "Can we take a picture? Can we take a picture?" And I'm like, when you get this developed and you look at this in lighting, you're going to be very disappointed. But,
Well, I did want to make a point to say congratulations on the recent success with the Barbie movie, as
Right.
well as the hit song.
SNL,
Excellent
the
work on
SNL,
your part.
come on,
More
you
credit
just
your
hosted
way.
SNL.
Yeah.
There it is. And
Right.
oh, that was the Beavis and Butthead bit recently was pretty ridiculous.
Jeez, you're on fire, man.
That
You
was
are on
hilarious.
fire.
Actually, my wife and I were watching that yesterday, and it's just can't help but laugh. It's just so simple but great.
So good, right? I literally said to Zach, I'm like, wait a minute. You've been talking about dyeing your platinum blonde for a
Now's
long
the
time. I
time.
think
This is your opportunity.
This is your moment.
Seriously,
You got to
right? I
seize
would.
these moments. Carpe diem here, man. Let's go. And with that, this is all great. Listen, we're having fun, and that is
been
the
super
point.
fun.
But we want to make sure we give people at home a tangible takeaway, something that maybe can challenge them and give them something to take action on. So if you guys could give our audience something that they can put into practice, what would that be?
You want me to go first, or?
Yeah, go for it.
The biggest takeaway that I think I could provide to the audience here. So again, today we're talking about data, we're talking about measuring fun, but ultimately what we're looking to do is to better empower people to feel comfortable and confident with where they are, with what they do with their time in the day. So, I mean, the biggest thing that I would say that I've learned in doing some of this work and looking at the data from an individual standpoint is to just look at your own resistance to what makes you feel that you can't show up authentically at work. Because oftentimes when I look at that in my own experience, data and just being out there, it's, a lot of times our own resistance prevents us from showing up authentically, which then prevents us from having fun, which then prevents us from actively participating to actually help the whole. So the biggest thing that I would say is just do your own work to see where you may be holding your own resistance that's preventing you from showing up how you would like to show up in the world.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. That's all.
Great
And we can
advice.
all benefit from that for sure.
I think my takeaway is what I keep thinking about, right? Especially when you look at fun and you look at well-being, is I just want to remind people that when we have done our research and then launching MH3 and looking at any mental well-being journey for an individual, there's always 4 key points, right? There's always the bravery to recognize a fear exists. That could be as a leader, that can be an employee, it can be as a community member, right? Is that there will require resilience across your journey, right? And that's right. You need fun, right? Because it's going to be a long journey. We know life is long, of like there's challenges that come at you, and they will. But the resilience, and then the next is grace, right? The grace, the willing to accept the things that you can't, right? To willing to be like, I really can't. I don't have enough energy today, and that's okay. I don't have enough energy to go to that event today. That's okay. But then the best part of all of it, and when you go through this narrative and this story and how you land on fun, and we say joy, is remember to have the joy to strut your success, to strut those new skills you've learned, right? That you may be afraid of doing that big event because people are going to think it's cheesy, right? Or they're going to think that it's cookie cutter. We'll work with the right partners, right? So that, such as fun departments, so that you make sure that when you show up for fun, that you're actually delivering fun and individualized fun to these individuals. But also remember that journey for yourself, that you need bravery, resilience, grace, and joy. And they're each essential parts of your journey. That's what I would say.
Love
Well
that.
said.
That was
well
awesome.
said.
Yeah.
Love it.
Despite what Nick said about you before we started the show, that was really good. And
I'm like a
we
broken clock.
appreciate
I
you
work
sharing.
at least twice a day, so that's good.
And,
I'll take
it's just
that.
awesome
That's
having.
that's my first.
There you go.
Yeah. The reality is, when we first met these guys, we were like, these are the people that we want to do business with. Not only do they offer a really great service, but great human beings. So
no question about it. And we appreciate you guys coming on the show to have some fun on purpose with us and discuss how we can all benefit from the measurement and analysis of fun.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. Yes. So can you measure fun? I think after this, I would say.
Absolutely.
Yes, for sure.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Well, hey, you guys stay awesome. Thanks for coming on. We appreciate you. Keep going out there. Keep measuring. You don't have to make a rhino toucan baby or whatever, but if you did, at least now we know what it might be called. And
Perfect.
Enjoy the rest of your day. We appreciate
Thank
having
you
you
so
on.
much.
You guys are awesome. All right, Nick, that was awesome. Rico and Zach, just
Dynamic
really
duo.
incredible to dig in on that. And we asked that question, can you measure fun? And I think it's pretty clear you can.
Yes, for sure.
And not only can you measure it, but the impact is real, it's tangible, and it's important. If you want to make a lasting impact in your environment, you want to bond your teams, if you want to connect with your employees and even better understand yourself, putting these measurement tools in place and asking those questions almost seems like a no-brainer.
It does. It really does. And a lot of people aren't even aware that this kind of data is available.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't, and we were looking for it for all these years. So very fortunate to have come across MH3.
Well, and it makes sense too. I mean, we talked about it. We watch sports and we see how involved the data has become in how they're operating and playing the game. How is that any different than us in our work environments being effective and driving towards the bottom line and becoming better?
Yeah. It's a great analogy, right? Because all of sports is based on statistics and history, right? So
Right.
the strategy of how you're going to win a game is all based on that. But we don't really do that.
Well, the
so
statistics
much.
are just different,
Right,
right?
right.
We're talking about retention. We're talking about P&Ls and the
Productivity
bottom
and
line.
engagement.
All of
numbers.
those things are the stats that we need to pay attention to when it
Yes.
relates to fun in our lives, both personally and in the workplace. And now we have tools that can measure it. And how cool is that? So get out there, measure, work towards a more productive, happier, healthier, more connected life. Nick, it's always a pleasure. A lot of fun today.
Good times.
Man,
It's great.
So wherever you listen or watch your podcast, we appreciate your support. Like, subscribe, share, all the good stuff. Don't forget to comment as well. And as always, Nick, it's a pleasure.
Likewise. Yeah.
Loving the journey as we continue on with Fun on Purpose. Stay awesome, stay tuned, and cheers to more fun ahead. This is the Fun on Purpose podcast.